Congresswoman Victoria Spartz's campaign advisor is responding to that Politico report of a preliminary inquiry into her treatment of her staff. Politico's Adam Wren reported there have been multiple complaints filed about alleged abuse, toxicity, and rage from the Congresswoman. Politico says the House Ethics Committee is looking into this. Spartz's campaign advisor says she hasn't been contacted by ethics staff. In a statement, the advisor referred to the accusations as, quote, anonymous rumors and exaggerated stories. Let's talk about it now with our panel. Here with us in studio this week, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, and for the Republicans, former state rep Mike Murphy, along with the professors with us today, Dr. Martin Sweet from Purdue University and Dr. Laura Wilson from the University of Indianapolis. So Laura, I'll start with you here as we talk about this report from Politico. It came the very same week we heard about a handful of resignations from her office, and it comes right after she survived a pretty contentious primary there in her district this year.
Yeah, and you wonder what Chuck Goodrich and others think about this, right? We've heard these things before, and certainly the committee will look into them, right? We don't know all of the details. It seems that there are a lot of red flags, and I think there's a difference between having individual moments, right, of temper or being upset with something, but to cultivate a culture where you have many people saying it's toxic, this kind of thing is going on. But we think of public servants, even the people working behind the scenes in Congress are genuinely public servants. They're doing the public's good. And I think this is certainly worrisome as we look at these accusations.
And we really don't know yet the extent to which the Ethics Committee is or isn't looking at this and how seriously. But Martin, what do you make of this news, and will it really amount to anything, even if there is an ethics probe in the House?
Well, if the ethics investigation comes back with findings, right, she could face censure among her colleagues. The big issue is, can we get this issue before the voters, right? Can the voters make this determination?
Maybe an issue for her next election.
Right. There was a thought that it could have happened in the Republican primary, but with that split primary, it just obviously didn't happen. But this has been consistent with her. She's been erratic in terms of her votes, in terms of her challenges against leadership. And remember what she said before. She said, I'm not sure I'm going to stay in Congress because I might just go home and get sanity back. Well, maybe she should have taken her advice and gotten sanity back.
And Mike, Martin referenced going before the voters. I mean, this has become a safer seat for Republicans since redistricting. As Spartz gets set to face Deborah Pickett in the general election this November, it's still a fairly safe seat in all likelihood.
It's still a fairly seat. The real solution is give money to Goodrich next time and vote for him, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
You think he'll run
again?
Why not? Given this news?
It usually takes 2 or 3 times to win a congressional seat. But this is real. After I heard about this, I reached out to some Spartz staffers, and more than one said there's a running joke on staff that the reason she is so unhinged is because she grew up downwind from Chernobyl. Now that's a mean joke, but that's their joke, and the staff passes that around.
Robin, what do you make of all this from across the aisle, and can Democrats make this race more interesting in November?
You know, Dan, I think this is a bigger issue. I mean, they had more rounds to select Mike Johnson as Speaker. They had rounds dealing with their former Speaker. Now they didn't pass the bipartisan immigration bill. I mean, I just think it's a toxic environment in Congress in total, and maybe it permeated to her staff. You are right, Doctor. I think that you're going to see this as a setup for 26 among people that they're recording on your DVR everything you're reporting today.
Yeah, and it certainly could be an issue in the next election. Let's talk about the immigration issue, which you referenced there in the president's executive order this week. Laura, this is certainly something that could have both practical and political implications this election year.
Oh, absolutely. Biden's in a really unenviable position because on one hand, his public order, right, aligns with a segment of public opinion, but there are conservatives in the Republican Party that say it's not doing enough. There are liberals within his own party that say it is not doing what they want to see.
Andre Carson expressed some skepticism about it.
Yes, and we've heard that from several Democrats, but it's a challenge because this is what voters say is really important, and they want to see Biden make a move. It just seems that there's so many people that are unhappy with the move, of course, that he makes.
And certainly, Martin, it's been a hot-button issue all across the country. What do you make of the timing and the reaction to it this week?
Well, presidents have turned to executive orders when they cannot get legislation through. In fact, on immigration, President Obama did this with DACA. President Trump started to rescind those orders, both of which got in trouble with the courts. I suspect this will be the same sort of thing too, but this is really about the election. The problem is there are not going to be many voters who go, I think that Biden guy's okay on immigration after all. He did nothing for 3 years, and then at that last second he threw an executive order in. That's not going to buy with the voters. So I think this is probably too little too late for any voters, and probably going to alienate some on his left flank as well.
Mike, meantime, the state GOP convention is this next weekend. Mike Braun hoping that he can get party delegates to vote for his choice for Lieutenant Governor Julie McGuire. You saw our interview there earlier with Micah Beckwith. He's hoping he can win over more delegates on the floor. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I see Julie winning, frankly. I think the Republican Party is very confident right now. Nothing wrong with Micah as a person at all. He has a right to run. But I think when you get chosen by the gubernatorial nominee who won overwhelmingly, right, in the primary, the rest of the party is going to fall in line. And the lieutenant governor, frankly, doesn't make that big of a difference on the ticket, and she's along for the ride anyhow, and happy to be so.
Then, Robin, your party will have a contested fight for the AG nomination next month, and still no running mate for Jennifer McCormick. Are you surprised that she hasn't found a running mate yet?
Oh, I think she'll have a running mate by the time that our convention comes around. I'm absolutely sure of that. But we have a contest between two outstanding, talented attorneys to succeed someone who is not as Attorney General.
Does Destiny Wells have the edge since she's run statewide?
Oh, you're not going to get me to be chair of that Hurt Feelings Club. I'll just say that we're going to have a contested convention.
We'll see how it plays out from there. Certainly, it's going to be an interesting convention on the Republican and the Democratic side at the state level this year. Those state conventions sometimes don't make a lot of news, a lot of formality. This year, we could have an interesting race on both sides. So we'll certainly be there at the convention next weekend with coverage for you right here. Coming up next, to look at the events this week to mark the 80-year anniversary of D-Day. We'll have much more on that when we return.